I want to, first of all, encourage you to use technology responsibly. If you're in the house today, please take your cell phone and turn it to vibrate so that we make sure that there is no interruption to the performance. I also want to encourage you to just put it aside, okay, and take your attention away from the external world, focus your attention on the presentation that you're going to see today. I want to thank all of you for the time you've put into supporting the SE process. I especially want to thank people who served as advisors during this process. It's a really important component of the SEE presentation. I want to thank the library staff for the support they gave the students in research. And I want to thank the technology staff for making it possible for us to tape and stream the presentations for purposes of learning. So those are exciting developments in SEE. I have learned so much this term and this year from watching the presentations, and I think that you are also going to learn a lot from our next presenter. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the presenter to
you. My name is Maria Jose Mendes, and my research topic is about the importance of identity formation in adolescence. My SE presentation is called Risk, Resilience, Risk, Repression, and Resilience Recovery. Identity formation in adolescence is critical for the development of an individual growing into adulthood. If identity is not formed positively, it affects the individual's self-concept negatively and can continue to do so for a lifetime, depending on the individual's resilience and or intervention. A person's development in the first 2 years is very important. The first 2 years, in fact, are critical, as this is a time when neural pathways are formed throughout attunement and attachment with the primary caregiver. This is a time when their environment and the people that surround them can shape them into who they will become. It affects them in every way possible. The failure of formation of positive identity is due mostly to trauma in an individual's childhood and ongoing problems in one's daily life. Traumatic experiences include sexual, physical, mental abuse, and neglect, while ongoing problems in one's daily life are educational and relationship-based problems with family and friends, such as bullying and stress from work and problems with friends, and so on. The caregivers are frequently the source of distress, and it's interesting because most of the trauma experienced by children is created by those who were once victims of violence themselves. This suggests that abuse is an unhealthy cycle that can affect generation after generation. So how exactly do these things affect the child? Have you ever had a strong emotion that you don't even know what to do with it? Children who feel safe learn to trust what they feel and understand because of the confidence given by the process of attachment and attunement, which in the future allows them to rely on their thoughts and emotions when reacting to specific situations. This is self-regulation. If for some reason a child doesn't know how to deal with the situation, they can at least still feel that they have someone to turn to when help is needed to find a solution. Now, in cases where children experience something traumatic, it really sets the stage for focused responses to subsequent stress. When the caregivers themselves are the source of distress, the child will have confused attachment and find it hard to control their arousal of their physical and mental systems. They basically do not know how to self-regulate. This confusion later leads to anxiety, anger, and the longing to be taken care of and validation. In fact, the child's most probable response to any situation is to mimic the response of the parents. Children under abusive situations will not have that complex vocabulary that enables them to describe their feelings. Lack of attunement from parents creates developmental issues in children. They won't be able to rely on their thoughts and emotions in certain situations. Children might develop anxiety and depression and other behavioral and mental disorders, and I'll explain why in a second. Children also anticipate further trauma to occur, which only adds more to their anxiety. In order to keep functioning, children develop certain defense mechanisms in order to get over traumas or problems at school with families or friends, as well as to cope with anxiety or fear. Sometimes events or traumas are too painful for individuals to deal with, so they lock these memories in the unconscious, submerging them at the bottom of the iceberg. This is called repression, and it shapes the unconscious. The unconscious mind is what controls people's behavior. The unconscious is the source of unconscious forces such as depression and anxiety. This is where eros and thanatos play a big part. Now, if you look at the picture here, you can see an oval. Oh, sorry. You can see an oval, and just pretend it's a brain. And the front is the conscious side, which eros and thanatos are situated, and the back side is the unconscious. So eros, or life instinct, helps the individual survive. It directs life-sustaining activities, which include basic survival, pleasure, and reproduction. While they're often called sexual instincts, these drives also include such things as thirst, hunger, and pain avoidance. The energy created by the life instincts is known as libido. In contrast, thanatos, or death instinct, is viewed as a set of destructive forces present in all human beings. When this energy is directed outward unto others, it is expressed as aggression and violence. Freud, which is the father of psychoanalysis and a really influential thinker, believed that eros is stronger than thanatos, thus enabling people to survive rather than self-destruct. He concluded that people hold an unconscious desire to die, but the life instincts largely temper this wish. The balance between eros and thanatos depends on the individual and how much of each aspect he or she has repressed due to trauma. So for example, if a person experiences trauma around death in childhood, this memory might be repressed, which can cause anxiety. Freud noted that after people experience a traumatic event, such as war, in which they see death, they often reenact the experience. The person will have more anxiety as well because they seek love and trust from people. They become anxious, looking for what eros is supposed to be, life-driven. It will want to preserve life and create life. So it would be like, thoughts would be like, oh, will I find a true love? Does anyone like me? Am I pretty? And so on, which gives anxiety. Of course, they will have depression because those thoughts, although not in the conscious side, are still in the unconscious, and death can impact people in various profound ways. Now let's say, if a person experiences trauma around sex in childhood, the libido energy could be repressed, leading to depression, depending on the individual's resilience. And it always depends on the individual's resilience. I see depression because thanatos energy will be in the conscious side the whole time, and the person will be thinking a lot of things that have to do with destruction and death, including suicide, self-harm, anger, bullying, murder, and so on. At the end, any traumatic experience could make the person end up with both anxiety and depression, as well as feelings of guilt, which evolves into a lot of negative thoughts. Resilience is an individual's ability to properly adapt to stress and adversity. People use coping mechanisms like repressing feelings, as I said before. Others use different methods like self-harm mechanisms or avoidance mechanisms. Through coping mechanisms, people manage to complete tasks that need to be done at the moment and continue on with their lives. But as I said before, if you're still avoiding and repressing feelings, it just builds up and creates more problems. So my solution is the following. For caregivers, and this includes teachers and parents, one key is remembering that children who have experienced trauma feel profoundly unsafe. When they're acting out, their primary need is often to feel a sense of connection. Parents should also be on the lookout for symptoms of depression and anxiety. School personnel should attune to the child and validate the child's emotions to let them know it's okay to have those feelings and they're not alone. A child who's acting out is mostly doing it because of repressed emotions that they have locked away, and they might not even know that they're doing it because of that. Also, in school, a child can form the types of healthy relationships that may not be possible in their own home. Connection with an individual teacher has also been shown to serve as a protective and caring factor. In other words, school can greatly influence identity formation either negatively or positively through offering or failing to offer opportunities for developing connectedness. Now, for people who have experienced trauma or are dealing with stress and things that stress them out, like school and personal problems, I found that therapy is something that's really looked down upon, at least in CMS I see. You hear that someone's going to therapy and they're judged for having a serious mental issue. A lot of people consider themselves independent and might think, why would I want someone to help me with my problems? Others think it's not worth the time or money. But are these kinds of thoughts really worth risking your health and future? Throughout this year, I struggled a little bit, and one of my teachers suggested that I go to the counselor. At first, I was a little bit embarrassed and nervous and scared, actually. But when I went there, it was kind of portrayed as how it is in the media. Like, I was sitting down and she was sitting in front of me, and I would just pour out my thoughts and feelings and everything that bothered me. Then the session ended and I actually felt relieved. I felt like something was being, like, I just felt relieved. And so after that, we scheduled our next session. And I noticed that I actually had a lot to talk about after that. So the process with the psychologist or counselor that I just explained is called psychoanalysis, in which the patient releases repressed emotions and experiences. Psychoanalysis is the process of bringing the unconscious to the conscious. Sometimes a person has repressed a memory so hard that they can't even remember it. So a way of finding out the problem, they use dream work, because dreams show the repressed material that is stored in the unconscious. However, psychoanalysis is just one type of therapy. So depending on the person, you will have a specific therapy that will help. Thank you very much. So putting this next thing, I'm doing an act. And this is an idea that I got from the show What by Will Burnham. I used his simulation and I matched it with my topic and GarageBand, so this is the product of that. Patient 2643. Hi, I'm sorry. How college plans going? I still don't know what I want to study. How are you feeling? Not well. Has the treatment been working? No, I really like taking medication. I think one should be able to get well on their own. I don't know, I'm just... What are your symptoms? Well, I internalize my feelings and I just have trouble articulating and just delaying. I'm serious. I was just joking. Okay, just focus. Tell me what's wrong with me, please. Just tell me. Recapitulating patient's history. Diagnosed with depression and anxiety, destructive tendencies, traumatic experiences with death, eating disorder, anorexia. Okay, so? Your photos and neurons are ignored. Your death drive and life drive are ignored. And most simply, your conscious and unconscious are ignored. My conscious and unconscious? Most of Thanatos has left to the unconscious, leaving neurons to take over the conscious side of the brain. What? To fix the problem, we must separate them from each other. Separate? What? Splitting your neurological functions in 5. You book an appointment, you just don't start counting down. 3, 2, 1. Just say her a bit. I don't even know what it is.
Isolation complete. This is 2643 Station State. Thanos. Aggressive, distracted, pushes towards extinction in rapid state. Fearful, bully, she's the death drive. This is 2643 Southern Basin State. Warehouse. Exists to preserve and create life, related to love, collaborative, cooperative, sexual and driven. She's the life drive. Okay now, play nice.
I am aggressive, I love distraction to the point where it's excessive. I don't care about you cause I always die. It doesn't matter cause I was born to die. And I go young and sexy time, and I ordered almost everything from the menu of KFC, cause I am a black drive. I see safety. It's not a little bit too jolly, I'm lustful, trustful, and I'm looking for somebody to love. Here comes a nice meal, here comes a nice meal. We need to make sure that we successfully fail. But the plan is working out, he is running away. Turn my life away. Holy cow, I think he might be the one. I want him to trust me. I just want, oh my God. Alright, now you're being insane. No, actually, I'm just being alive. You should try it. You might like it. Nothing that I care about. You always talk about the things that I don't care about. It doesn't matter if I want to go be wild. That doesn't matter, so I act like a child. You think you're the best out of both of us. Think you don't need me. And now I am hiding in your conscience. But half of her conscience was supposed to be mine. I see you want everything. I hope that you're happy, cause she's sure not. Well, I did my job. I kept her working, I kept her productive. You were supposed to keep balance within her. You were supposed to keep her emotionally stable through those hard times. But no, you had to go to the unconscious, to a shadow will go unnoticed. If she's feeling depressed and anxious, it's because you failed her. You did this to her. She hates you. I know she does. She hates you. Sorry, that's also. I'm sorry. Look. Maybe there's some space for us to work together. Take the best parts of us, put it together. It would help her let her feelings out. It would help her move on. It's something that DiCaprio did. It's something that Robin Williams did. Something special that we could both perform. Do you know what it is? It's acting. We could act, perform together. Okay, that's what we're gonna act together, we're gonna perform, okay? We can make her happy again. We can put her on the right track to forming her identity correctly. We can do it, I promise, all right? Arrows, I hate you. I know.
Experimentation complete.
Thank you very much. were thinking, well, I never experienced trauma. Take this as an example. So I have a bottle of water, right? The weight doesn't matter. What does matter is how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, it doesn't feel so heavy. If I hold it for an hour, I'll eventually start cramping up in my arm. If I hold it for a whole day, my arm will probably like numb up and feel paralyzed. In each case, the glass weight doesn't change, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it gets. Stress and anxiety are like this bottle of water. If we stress about things for a short while, nothing happens. If we think about them a little longer, it starts to hurt. If we think about them all day, we will feel paralyzed, unable to do anything. It's important to let go of whatever stresses you in order to move on. So every evening, as early as possible, put away the stress you may have carried during the day. Don't carry things throughout the evening and into the night. And remember to pour it all out. Thank you.
Awesome. I just want to say that first. That was incredible. You were talking at the beginning of your, I won't even call it performance. At the beginning of your SE, you were discussing identity and identity formation, and you mentioned briefly about critical periods. If somebody has some sort of traumatic situation that happens to them around one of these critical periods that you discussed, is it possible for them to achieve that time of formation again later in life, or is it missed? Is it
yes, you can achieve that formation. You can achieve it through therapy, as I said before. You can use any kind of therapy that works for you. You can use music therapy, you can use psychoanalysis, as I said before. But the trauma makes you not want to think about that experience. So when you repress those emotions and feelings, it actually makes it worse. So what you have to do is bring it back and talk about it. And so that way you can balance both, as I said, eros and thanatos, and you can think of both of them and it's going to be balanced.
Okay. Resilience. You were bringing up resilience and how some people have that ability of, even though they went through a terrible situation and bouncing back from it. Is this something that someone is born with, or is it something that they can develop?
Good question.
Thanks. Just go on what you've seen in your work, or what you
I think resilience has a lot to do with how someone self-regulates. So they actually learn that. I think also that coping mechanisms and things you can use to manage your stress can help too. So resilience is more of the intervention and yourself, how you manage everything. Okay.
I have a question. So let me see which of the questions I want to ask. Okay, you had a picture up there first. Okay, so first of all, I want to say this: you are a gutsy lady.
Yeah.
You are such a gutsy lady. Yeah, this is really nice for how much do you feel okay, so you mentioned to the student body that part of your presentation that there's a certain culture in the school around like therapy, right? And then you talked about your own experience. Okay. How much did you understand when you began this project about the concept of the unconscious and the conscious?
I actually didn't know anything. I had to when I first picked the topic, I was just searching everywhere and I looked at Freud's theory and I just stick to So, yeah.
Okay. And then I noticed when you were presenting that it sounded to me like you were sort of playing off a little bit about like the Disney movie fairy tale tradition of the whole idea. Like I'm thinking about things like Frozen.
Yeah.
The warring sisters,
Oh,
like
okay.
the dark and the light and things like that. So you were really playing with that in your presentation.
I wanted to do a really big contrast between Thanatos and Eros, because Eros is life-driven and Thanatos is death-driven. So I just wanted to also make sure that you guys knew when I changed character.
So do you think that as a young person living today, which of the two energies do you think is more socially acceptable in terms of manifestation and culture?
Well, since Thanatos energy is mostly focused on a negative energy and just, self-harm and suicide, like just destroying, I would say Eros would be most probable because it's more social, it's more collaborative. I think it would go well to like be more social with people and stuff like that. But I also think that there's a good, like you should have both of them in your life to be successful.
Okay, and you think most teens are repressing more Thanatos though? So that, in other words, you have these two animal energies, okay? And they're in play in our lives all the time. And culture is more accepting of Eros, manifestations of Eros, than it is manifestations of Thanatos at a conscious level. Okay. And what about unconsciously in our culture? Which plays out more, do you think, sex or death?
Death. Or actually.
Unconsciously. Freud would like what you just did. Freud would like that.
Well.
So consciously, sex plays out more, but unconsciously, death.
I think sex is being talked about more than death. I think death is something that's really like personal, if you might say. Sex is right now, these days are just, being talked about more and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. So do you think that makes it difficult for young people to live balanced lives?
It makes it difficult
for young people to live balanced lives.
I think, yes, like these days it's really hard, especially in school because of stress, and you have to do a lot of work. You have a life out of school as well, so you have to balance. But like the stress, you have to repress it sometimes in order to work, or you have to use a coping mechanism in order to, get stuff done.
Well, MJ, amazing job. That's the first SE I've ever seen like that. It was really pretty awesome. And I think we got the picture clearly. You mentioned in one of your slides that teachers and parents serve as protective factors to help us feel safe, as young people feel safe and connected. How do you think CMS is doing with that? In terms of our teacher connection, our advisory program, do you think we're doing a good job of that in this particular school?
I actually think that you guys are really doing a good job because I see students and they have a really good connection with specific teachers, and that's good because when they have a problem, they can go to them and just talk with them.
My question.
You go ahead.
No, it's related to that. It was really the same question. You obviously were facing a struggle of your own, and I wondered if you had any wishes moving forward for how we could make kids feel better about being students here.
I think because it's not making, because if we make people do something, they won't want to do it.
Yes.
So I think someone should take the initiative and just be like, oh, I'm going to the counselor because I need to talk about something. That's my opinion.
It seems to me like you're talking about destigmatizing the taboo subject of mental health. Because we talk a lot about physical health, but mental health is something we have a more difficult time talking about culturally. You demonstrated so brilliantly the fact that it doesn't hurt to like take on that aspect of being human. And it's something that all people share. A lot of silence from the student body in the room though. Any comments?
I want to address something because no one's asking me why I did the simulation. Oh,
It was a two-part one. Because I was gonna ask you why you went about, introducing people to it like this. And then my second part was you stuck to Freud and psychoanalytical in the branch of psychology. Did you look into any of the other branches as being kind of a...
not really.
That's fair. Well, I'm just looking at...
You did because you had Jung up there, so he's mythological. Yeah.
What was the first question?
Why this method of...
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like people pay more attention when there's entertainment involved. So I did the simulation. I was watching the show, and there was a simulation there, and I was like, wow, that would be great because I'm doing psychology, and like that would go well with mine. So what I did is, the simulation is actually based on a real person. So everything that you heard in that simulation is true. That person did see people commit suicide in front of them. They went through bullying. They went through a case of anorexia. They have depression and anxiety and so on. What I wanted to do is apply what I taught to you in my PowerPoint presentation and apply it to this case so you understood how it affects.
It was a wonderful illustration. Any questions from the student body? Are you guys that brave? Yeah.
You talked a lot about having the teachers and like the caretakers helping people understand that it's okay to express our emotions. But is there anything us as peers can help each other with?
Good question. You can actually do the same. It's no different from teachers and parents. Peers and friends can actually help you through it. They can support you and give you that what you need in order to cope through something. I also found that with friends you can use a different kind of therapy, like music or theater therapy, so you can put out your feelings and emotions through those arts. So that kind of works as well.
I want to add to that, in violation of my own rule, not to talk more than you asked, but one thing I think is really important for the student body to do is to tell each other to go to talk to the counselor. Because one thing I see a lot of is students will talk to each other, and then students will come and talk to teachers and say, I'm so stressed out because my friend is so stressed out, because their friend is so stressed out, but no one is talking to the people in the community who are, or not enough people are talking in the community to the people who are trained to do that work. So when you tell your friend to go see the counselors, you're not pushing them away, you're getting them to the resource that they really need to make a positive change. So I really want to strongly encourage that. It's part of that culture of destigmatizing mental health. And frankly, most of you are going to lead pretty intense lives because of how you're socially positioned. So you need to learn at some point, hopefully fairly early on, how to manage really, really heavy pressure. And so the sooner you start forming those positive habits, the better. It's really important.
Also, the counselors and the psychologists are more professional, like they know what they're doing. So.
I think this might constitute as a pretty obvious question. So I think you're encouraging for students to find their own personal outlets, to let go of their emotions, and that can be talking to professionals and as you said, music, therapy, and athletes. So it's you're basically when you say you're encouraging students to participate in things that are arts or things that have emotional connection to them, really service elements.
Definitely. Like, before I auditioned for Your In Town, which was my first play, I was really, really shy. Even before I auditioned for choir class, I was extremely shy. I would never do something like this in like any performance or any presentation. I would never perform. I would never sing in front of people. And look at me now, like it's amazing, like the transformation that those arts can do to one person. So I hope you think about it, and I hope you just join some arts here. It's really good.
Thank you so much.